That's the reason I always take the top edge first. Top edge like that, and a little bit of a rough edge is underneath, but you can always take your paper to get rid of it and just lightly run over the top edge. Because these cars, they've got a little bit of a round wheel arch, round top edge there. Tidy that up on the bottom. Don't tidy them up first, always leave them until last. And then, as you can see, that's come out lovely. Now it's only taken one skim of filler and one skim of top stop. What we're going to do now, as you can see these deep scratches, we're going to eliminate them, get them out, and what we're going to do, we're going to use a finer paper, which will be a 180 on the DA or the orbital sander, just to take these 80 marks out, and then I'll use the 180 disc. I'll pull it off the orbital sander, and I'll just use that just to smoothen off any rough areas, and then I'll prepare the rest of the panel for primer. Right, what I've got here a sanding sponge. Now that's what I'm going to use to key up the rest of the panel. It's dry, so all you can do is to rub it down. As you see, I'm just taking the shine away completely from the thing. It's a super fine sanding sponge. You don't need to use anything really coarser than that, although you can get them. As you can see now, I've prepared the rest of the panel. Now it's ready for the primer stage. Now the next stage is to mask it all up and get it ready for 2 or 3 coats of primer. Right, what I'm going to do now, just before I'm going to start masking it up for primer, I'm going to degrease the panel. That way we've got a nice clean panel ready for primer. Right, now for the mask stamp. Important, mask up inside the petrol area. You don't want to get primer all inside there because it just makes a messy job. Just try to mask it all up, make sure no primer can get in there. Start off by using a 1-inch bit of tape. What you could do is actually tear it off there and come around the back and put a piece in, and then just work it in now, like so. And that way you've got a nice piece round here, like that as well. Although it'd be nice just to put a bit right round the edge of the flap as well. You don't really want to get no primer on that edge because it just makes it a messy job. And close the flap. There you go. So that's nice and tight around there. Next area we can mask off the light, which I will do. Well, I'm not going to put the tape around this area here. Well, I'm just going to cover the gap for now because it's only primer. You don't want no primer going inside there. Just like that. Don't forget, this is only a temporary mask up just for the primer. The initial mask up before the paint, then we're going to do things at a different level. Right, so that's got that covered. Bit of tape down here as well. I'm going to get another bit of paper now, cover this area, and then we'll cover the rest of the area. Cut the paper in nice and tight. You don't want it flopping about as you're priming up. That's the last thing you need to do, is the paper get blown up and start sticking to the primer. Right. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to stick the tape across there like that. Yeah, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to cover this area here, and then I'm going to cover that area there. Right, as you can see, it's a temporary mask up, it's all ready for primer now. I'm going to go and mix the primer up and give it 3 coats. Right, I've mixed up the primer, I'm going to wear the mask now, and I'm going to start giving it a couple of coats. First I'm going to give it a sort of a semi-wet one, and then the coats will get wetter as I'm going along. Right, as you can see, I've just put like a semi-wet one on there. We'll give that 5 minutes, let that dry off before we give it another coat. We don't want to get no runs. If you rush it, you're definitely going to run it. So the best thing to do is just give it 5 minutes, let that tack off, and then we'll go over it again, giving it a little bit of a heavier coat, and then another even coat after that one, and then that should be enough. Right, I've just finished putting on the final coat. I'm going to set the oven on bake now for 30 minutes, and then we're going to come back and start rubbing it down, getting it ready for painting, and then we'll mask it up properly. We'll demask all of this, and then we're going to put a fresh lot of mask in, this time more detailed masking, obviously, for the painting. Right, what I've done now, as you can see, we've primed it up. I've given it a guide coat, which is a black aerosol. I literally just sprayed it over like that, give us a nice little dark patch on there, just so that we can see where you're going to rub down and so forth. And you keep rubbing down until you get rid of it all, and you've got a nice flat finish. And what I'm going to use to do that is I'm going to use an 800 wet and dry with a little rubber block. It's not good to do it by freehand. It's always best to use, it's a stopper rubber, but it wraps nicely into a nice bit of 800 there, and you won't get the finger marks as you're rubbing it down, and I'll show you. You can always use it to swipe it over so you can see exactly where you've rubbed, and obviously you carry on going until you've removed all the black areas where you've given a guide coat, that's what we call, and then you just carry on going until you've got everything nice and smooth.